Welcome to the Oklahoma Education Association building. I'm Alicia Priest, a teacher from Yukon, Oklahoma, 24 years educator, serving as the president of the Oklahoma Education Association. To paraphrase yesterday's headline in a major newspaper, Oklahoma can avoid a statewide teacher walkout, but not if the legislature keeps messing around. Although there has been a flurry of activity this past week at 23rd and Lincoln related to various nebulous plans, the bottom line is that the legislature has gone home for a 3-day weekend with nothing on the table to prevent thousands of educators statewide from coming to the Capitol April 2nd to demand action. Our students are the real victims of the legislature's failure to properly fund education and state government's core services. While Oklahoma cut funding to public schools by over 28% in the last 10 years, our school class sizes have ballooned to impossible numbers. Our schools can't buy textbooks for every child. We've dropped not only fine arts, but world language classes. We've also dropped advanced placement courses. OEA has said if the legislature can't manage to come up with a funding plan to restore vital funding to schools and a significant pay raise for teachers and support professionals and public employees who provide services that are critical to the safety and well-being of children, then we will come up with one for them. Now's that time. The legislature has one more week to pass the necessary bills that will invest in our children. At least 147 school boards and 17 still considering have passed resolutions. That is over half of our state that have passed resolutions supporting educators who walk out. Educators, supportive parents, business and community leaders, all are making their travel plans, and OEA and our coalition partners are finalizing logistics necessary to facilitate the multiplied thousands who will advocate for kids beginning on April 2nd. What we want is a fiscal plan to provide the growth revenue necessary to fund OEA's Together We're Stronger goals. The legislature can prevent a walkout, but if they don't act next week, then we will walk. We cannot and will not continue letting the legislature to shortchange our children. They are our future, and we deserve nothing but the best for them. We have several speakers today. I'm going to introduce to you David Duval, Executive Director of the Oklahoma Education Association.
Thank you, Alicia. This revenue roadmap to fund the Together We're Stronger investment plan was built with Oklahomans in mind. The grandparents struggling to pay for child care due to schools going to 4-day school weeks. The single mother worried her son isn't grasping math and reading concepts because he's packed into overcrowded classrooms and unable to take his textbooks home at night because there simply aren't enough to go around. This revenue roadmap is a reflection of the Oklahoma standard, where in times of crisis, we all come together to put ourselves on a better path. We didn't get into this budget mess overnight. Oklahoma didn't become first in cuts to education in a single year. It took years of inaction to get us to this point. This revenue roadmap presents a real opportunity to reverse course this year and every year hereafter, because we all deserve better than the flawed plans that lawmakers have scrambled to reveal in the face of school closures and teacher walkouts. Our roadmap calls for many of the same revenue enhancements and tax changes that have emerged from various groups over the last year to fix Oklahoma's broken budget. We've taken pieces of the business community-led step-up plan. We took pieces from the Restore Oklahoma plan unveiled by House Democratic leaders and members last year. We took pieces of the Save Our State budget put together by a coalition of Oklahoma advocacy organizations worried about the future of this state, of which OEA was a founding member. In short, this plan asks everyone to play their part and pay their part, to give Oklahoma students a brighter future and all Oklahomans some hope that better days lie ahead. So you have copies of our roadmap. In it, there are income tax changes. Generally, that's what's known as Romney Light. It's been in several plans, and it's generally accepted as a way to the future. It is a more progressive income tax structure than we currently have. We're calling for a 5% GPT on oil and gas. That's 2.5 times what currently exists for the first 3 years. We're calling on ball and dice gaming. You'll see it has no revenue projected because the Tax Commission is not ready to make a projection on that, but we believe it's still a vital part of this plan. We're calling on a hotel and motel tax, alcohol taxes, which is simply moving the date from something that's already been enacted, which is 3.2 beer being covered by liquor taxes. We're calling for a 6-cent motor fuel tax on gasoline and diesel. Oklahoma is currently 48th in the nation in what we charge as a tax rate on gasoline and diesel fuel, and 40% of this is paid by out-of-state drivers who are driving on our roads. We're calling on a 2-year car tag. Instead of having to buy a car tag every year, every other year, you'd have to buy a car tag. So it's a convenience for the taxpayer. We've got a fairness and equity plan on sales taxes. The mom and pop businesses on Main Street in towns all across Oklahoma are collecting sales taxes, while multi-billion-dollar corporations don't collect sales tax on things that are bought over the internet. We're talking about fairness for our Main Street businesses here. And we're asking for $1.50 per pack on cigarettes. This is not only a revenue-raising measure, but frankly, many of those people who are becoming addicted are our students. And this is dealing with that addiction rate, and we hope to cut it. And finally, we're calling on a wind tax of $20 million. Alicia?
All right, our next speaker is Ed Allen, President of Oklahoma City AFT.
Thank you, Alicia. The Oklahoma City AFT represents the 2,600 teachers in the Oklahoma City Public School District. You know, teachers don't want to walk on April 2nd, but believe me, they will if we don't have a substantial and adequate pay increase. As David just shared with you, we have the roadmap, and it's time for our legislators, as my dad used to tell me as a kid growing up, it's time to put your big boy britches on. So it's time for our legislators, both men and women, put your big boy and big girl britches on and solve the problem. This is job one. In Oklahoma City last year, we had 25% of our teachers leave the district. No organization, public or private, can sustain itself and improve when 25% of your employees are leaving. And that's a result of low pay. They're either leaving the profession or leaving our state to get a better job. So in Oklahoma, our children deserve better. You know, our teachers deserve better. And Oklahoma in general, everybody in Oklahoma deserves better. Teachers should not feel disrespected. They shouldn't feel underpaid. They just shouldn't feel like no one cares. And we're asking for a legislature that cares and do the right thing. Thank you.
Our next speaker is a highly qualified special education paraprofessional at Broadmoor Elementary in Moore Public Schools, Wilma Bunting.
Hello, like Alicia said, I'm Wilma Bunting, and I'm a highly qualified special ed paraprofessional at Moore Public Schools. My education support professional colleagues and I are very thankful that the Oklahoma Education Association recognizes the many services and tasks that we perform on a daily basis. It is very critical that we play a critical part of helping educate the state's children and helping make sure that for their safety and well-being. While the circumstances of our hourly employment make it more difficult for us to physically participate in the impending walkout, those of us who cannot are in full support and are making legislative contacts and working with parents in our communities to advocate for the funding that will help ensure a better future for our students, our communities, and basically our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilma. Next, I'm presenting Tom Dunning, Communications Director of Oklahoma Public Employees Association. Mr. Dunning.
Thank you, Alicia. OPEA is here today representing the 34,000 state employees who can't be here. They can't be here because they're doing their jobs. They're serving in our overcrowded and understaffed correctional facilities. They're inspecting our restaurants. They are looking out for abused or neglected children or vulnerable adults. They are providing a myriad of services that touch each of us every day. We stand with educators because we know we need to fund all core services. The core services provided through our state agencies touch each one of us. They also touch our schools' children. Those children who need behavioral health services can best be poised to learn if they're receiving those behavioral health services. If their communities are safe because of public service done by our public safety industries, they're in a better position to learn. If they're not having to worry about wildfires like those that are being fought by our men and women at the Department of Ag and Forestry Services right now, they're in a better position to learn. We're positioned differently. We cannot, as state employees, just walk off the job. We are going to have a large representation Saturday. On Monday. Could be on Saturday too, you don't know. Well, our folks across the state are planning events in their local areas. We hope it doesn't come to this. We are pleased to be part of this solution, a broad-based and fair service plan for funding. OPEA has called for new revenue for years, and it's largely fallen on deaf ears at the Capitol. I believe all of us now have their attention. We hope that they're able to come together, figure out a sustainable, broad-based revenue package that will allow us to fund all core services and provide a pay raise for hardworking state employees, hardworking educators, and hardworking school support staff. OPEA is really pleased to be standing with our colleagues in education.
Thank you, sir. Craig Moody, DHS Adult Protective Services Specialist, is our next speaker. Mr. Moody.
I'm a Adult Protective Services Specialist from the Department of Human Services. I'm also a retired educator and member of OEA.
Fantastic.
My wife also.
Thank you.
She's working in the public sector now, and I'm trying to make a difference with adults in Oklahoma. When I started 5 years ago, there were 20 workers in our office. Now there's 10. Across the state, services are such limited that we investigate and substantiate these neglect and abuse and exploitation, but there's very a lot less services that we can offer. Adult Protective Services, when I started, there was about 200 of us. Now there's around 100. And if you're not familiar with our program, I've got some more information for you. But as the population ages, we need more assistance. And it's very hard to hire somebody at the hiring rate of $2,400 a month. And I have a master's degree. That doesn't make a difference on the pay scale. So please assist us, assist your parents and your family members. Thank you.
Thank you. An English teacher at Deer Creek High School and finalist for the 2018 Oklahoma Teacher of the Year, Dion Liebel.
Hello, I come to you today with 12 years of experience at Putnam City West High School and 6 at Deer Creek High School, and it is my privilege to talk to you today. I do want to thank the legislators who have responded and are trying to come up with a plan to help this dire situation. I implore you to take time to learn about our schools, our kids, and our teachers as you hear about us during this education in crisis. Sometimes there is a perception that our children are immune from many of the state's educational issues. However, an assignment given to my students in the fall gave insight into what our kids really face in Oklahoma. Shortly before Thanksgiving, I asked my students to reflect upon and write about teachers who helped to shape their lives. I gave them some sentence starters such as, "I will never forget when this teacher said this," or "the way a teacher influenced my life was this way." One student wrote, "When the classroom is quiet, my mind is taken over by all of the bad and challenging times that I've had in my life. I am so grateful that my teacher explains the directions to me one more time." Another student wrote, "My teachers came to my mother's funeral." Another wrote, "He asked me how I was, and that's all I needed to survive." Student after student wrote responses, heartfelt responses, and as I read these, 2 realizations struck me. First, the hundreds of split-second decisions that teachers are demanded to make every single day impact our kids' mental health, their personal growth, their learning, and even their physical safety. It is without a doubt that the reason that some of my students are thriving and some even alive today is due to a teacher's influence. Second, I became increasingly aware of how many of the teachers mentioned by name were no longer teachers in our district. Some teachers left to teach in other states, while several sought other career paths completely. How disheartening to learn about these incredible educators who are no longer in our Oklahoma schools. Our kids know that we, their teachers, care, but they see programs they love go unfunded. They realize one teacher is now doing a job that was once tackled by multiple teachers. They know janitorial staff is cut. They notice teaching positions that go completely unfilled. They experience insufficient textbooks and supplies, and our students know that some of their teachers are leaving. We are at a crossroads. When fewer than 15% of our faculty members at my school have been employed with us only a few years, change must happen. When job openings that once brought innumerable applicants oftentimes bring 0 applicants, change must happen. When new teachers are trained and by seasoned veteran teachers who are really beginning teachers themselves, change must happen. When 46% of our teachers have been in teaching only 1 to 5 years, change must happen. When vital support staff workers realize they could make more as cashiers than caring for our own children, change must happen. When teachers and support staff experience increased workload year after year, yet realize that they must take second and sometimes even third jobs to survive financially, change must happen. When our students' funding is cut 28% in the last 10 years, change must happen. The message being sent to our kids seems to be that their education does not matter. That is unacceptable. We must show our kids that they are important, whether you have children or not, whether you have children in private or public school. We, as Oklahomans, must realize that publication is everyone's concern. Our schools are on the front lines of health, criminal justice issues, mental health, and at our schools, no child is denied. No child is turned away. No child is sent somewhere else because of special needs or low test scores or a discipline record. We, the public schools, take all children, and we strive to help each and every one of them. We must abandon silence and blind trust that we will thrive despite floundering budgets. We must make the education of our youth the top priority. Our kids and even the state's future depend upon it.
The next two speakers are students that spoke out at their school board meetings about what's happening to them and their education. First, I'd like to introduce a senior at Bartlesville High School, Miss Chloe May.
1 month ago today, I was making a similar speech at Bartlesville 22-minute student walkout. Around 330 of our students, surrounded by love and support from members of our community and the state of Oklahoma, walked out of class to protest the injustices of public education funding and teacher pay. For years, Oklahoma teachers have not received a raise, and our funding has been cut below the bare minimum. We are behind our neighboring states in per pupil spending, even though many bright Oklahoma students compete on the national level in AP, ACT, and SAT scores. The other students merely do not have the tools to succeed. Textbooks are decades outdated. Many schools have gone to 4-day weeks just to make ends meet. Our number of emergency certified teachers has increased to nearly 2,000, and we are being forced to cut key classes out of our curriculum. If any teacher were to grade Oklahoma on its work right now, we would get an F. Oklahoma is at the bottom of the barrel, but we can do better. As I was sitting at the Capitol earlier this week, my eyes were open to new experiences, to say the least. However, I was able to reach one conclusion. We have a problem, and we can no longer let our legislators treat the future of Oklahoma as a pawn in their political games. I have great respect for our lawmakers, and because of this respect, I feel obligated to speak out and say that we all deserve better. Our legislators deserve for kind words to be thrown their way instead of abrasive retaliation. Our students deserve the funding they need to succeed. Our teachers deserve the pay raise that will keep them in the place they call home. Oklahoma wants us to prosper, but we want Oklahoma to grow with us. We can no longer let Oklahoma be stuck in the education ice age. There is obviously no doubt that I stand behind my teachers 100%, and I'm probably not the person you would feel the need to ask. However, I believe I speak for a large portion of the student population when I say that students and teachers are underrepresented in this state. I will be out on the Capitol lawn on April 2nd, and I hope to be one in a crowd of many. Thank you.
A sophomore at Moore High School, Hope Davis.
My name is Hope Davis, and I'm a sophomore at Moore High School. I'm categorized as a special needs student for my deafness. I need this pay raise because my teachers don't know how to help me. I need that connection between my teachers and I to thrive. I'm currently bouncing between an IEP and a 504, and my teachers are emergency certified subs. A pay raise could give my teachers training for more understanding and collaboration with special needs mainstream students. I am one of the only kids at Moore High School with hearing devices. If I have a question or need help, I have to go to countless lengths just to understand my teachers and peers. As of this moment, I have 2 emergency certified teachers along with a class with new subs every day. No student should learn like that. No student should ever have their education at stake because a school can't hire enough teachers. My learning makes it nearly impossible to learn from subs that are here one day and gone the next. Because of this frustration, I've gone to online school in geometry because my teacher quit. Geometry is a class that should be on the ACT, a class that I need to know. The mission statement of Moore High School vouches for the idea that it creates effective opportunities to achieve academic excellence. When I have to resort to online school because my teachers are quitting, that does not uphold the statement. This pay raise would better the quality of my education by better teacher training, increase the standards for substitute teachers, better school security, and an overall better atmosphere. I, as a student of Moore High School, stand here today to say that my education is being jeopardized, and the only way to fix it is to raise funding for more public schools' education systems. Not only that, but the education systems of the whole state of Oklahoma. We all know we need to raise the salary. That's why we're all here. But teachers have been walking out for years. It started with teachers going to different states to teach for the salary. And it ends with teachers going to a different profession altogether. Never again do I want to explain to my teachers why I need accommodations. Never again do I want to switch to online school because I'm forced to learn by a substitute teacher. Never again do I want to see my teachers working 2 jobs just to suffice enough money to pay the bills. Never again do I want to use a textbook that's a decade old. Never again do I want the quality of my education decreased, and never again will I let it. I stand here today to vouch for not only myself, not only the 23,000 kids in Moore ISD, but the thousands more in the state of Oklahoma. To fight for a pay raise, for not only the quality and effectiveness for my education, but the generation behind us. If not now, then when? Thank you.
That is what public school is about. That is what this message is about. We must have operational costs for our students to have the tools they need to succeed in the classroom. We must have raises for our education personnel, support and certified, so that they can stay in jobs that they love and teach the future of our state. We must recognize that education is not in a vacuum or a bubble. We have to have those core state services to support everything that we do so that our children can have the success that they deserve and the future that we want for them. At this time, I will accept some questions.
Alicia, you've got our gross production at 5% here. Just yesterday, Senate leadership said that's not even on the table, that's not even an option.
This is a pathway to the revenue that's needed. We are hearing other things as well. So it's up to the legislature to make sure that students like these that you just heard from have the tools that they need for success. And that's one way to get there.
I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but can somebody explain the car tag thing? I'm just going from paying for something once a year to go in and pay for it every other year, rate money.
Well, it raises money in the first 2 years because for those 2 years you're getting, in the first year is partial year, the second year would be partial year. You're getting 2 years of revenue because it's a 2-year tag those years, and then after that second year it goes back to the regular revenue rate for the car tags.
So it's not gross revenue or recurring revenue.
Correct. It's the same rate. It's just you get growth revenue those first 2 years.
I added up your funding suggestions, and somehow I keep coming up with $753 million. That's way short of the $906 million that your press release says.
What we've put forward is, I believe, $905 million. We'll check those numbers for you. This is a responsible revenue roadmap. The reason we're putting this forward is what we were hearing across the street from legislators is that we've asked for too much, we cannot get there, that there are political reasons that we can't raise that much money. Actually, this was relatively easy to put together, cobbling together ideas that have already been out there. What we lack is the political will to pass something that addresses the funding crisis what we have here. And what we're here to say is if they don't have the political will to pass a funding formula which provides the increased revenue which we've identified that we need, then there are going to be thousands of teachers and parents and students and support professionals and state workers and citizens from all across the state on April 2nd that will give them the political will to do it. You know, Ed, you quoted your father. My mother used to say to me, honey, you know when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. The next best time is today. Well, I say to every legislator over there, when is the best time to fix Oklahoma's revenue crisis? 10 years ago. The next best time is today. It's time for us to get together, get busy, and fix it. The time is now.
The legislature, somewhere will be in session next week for probably 3 days. After that, they return the same days you guys are supposed to walk out. 3 days is probably not enough time. Even if they accepted this as is, it's probably not enough time to get it passed. What would you guys accept as far as you got our word we're going to do it, or does it have to pass in the form of a bill or reach the governor? What are you guys looking for specifically with what it wants?
If they do not have a plan that with a revenue stream and they do not have passed by April 1st the ask that we have presented, as well as the funding sources passed by both houses and signed by the governor, then we will be at the Capitol on April 2nd.
But just to follow up, is that realistic to expect in a 3-day time period?
They've had 3 weeks. It's time to get busy.
In your lobbying efforts, are you focusing on any lawmakers like specifically, or just all of them in general? I mean, there's some that have a little more power than others.
Absolutely.
You are focusing on some more than others?
Yes.
Who are you focusing on?
Well, of course, we work with leadership, but we also have other lawmakers that are influencers that we work with.
What are you hearing from them? How are these conversations going?
Well, you know, in the special session 1 and 2, we had budget plans that were presented, and in any other state would have passed, but we have to get 75%. So we have lawmakers that are absolutely on our side, that are for funding education. We just have to get a revenue package before them that we can get 75%, and they have over 700,000 reasons to do that, and that's every child in public school in the state of Oklahoma.
Name names, specifically who's standing in the way.
Do you want to answer that?
The question again, name names, specifically who's standing in the way.
So it's about political will, and it's about getting, Oklahomans are tired of the blame game. They're tired of the House blaming the Senate and the Senate blaming the House. They're tired of Democrats blaming Republicans and Republicans blaming Democrats. It's time for members of both parties and both chambers to join together and come up with a plan, and we've presented a roadmap that gets us there, that gets us out of this revenue crisis. And anyone who, because they may have signed some pledge to some out-of-state group at some point, which they say will require them to ignore the funding crisis in Oklahoma, then they need to change their mind and get on board.
With respect, that's not the case.
And as he said, we're tired of the blame game. Everybody over there needs to get on board. This is about the future of our state and about the children of the state of Oklahoma. So it's time to make moves, no matter what side you're on.
You've got people on the left and on the right who voted against past iterations of plans that actually made this decision. So, I mean, I think it would be patently obvious that you guys would be trying to switch those votes because other people have voted yes on this side. So, can you give a, you declined to do this 2 weeks ago, but perhaps you can talk us through your specific argument to Democrats who voted no and your specific argument to Republicans who voted no.
We've worked on a revenue plan that best benefits the state of Oklahoma as a whole, with everyone paying their part to secure the future of the students of the state of Oklahoma. When we invest in education, we invest in the future of our communities, we invest in the future of our state, and we grow our economy. That's what this plan is working on. These students deserve to have jobs that they can come back to Oklahoma and participate in our citizenry. We want them here. These are some of the best and brightest, as you saw. And there are hundreds of thousands more like them. That's what we're working on. That is what will give the impetus to change minds and pass a plan.
How optimistic are you that your proposed bill will pass when elements of this proposal came from other bill attempts?
And we've put things together in coalition form. This is a roadmap. If they have other ideas that promote public education and the revenue that we need for operational costs, for raises, for these children, then let's take a look at it and let's work at it together.
What's the justification for the tobacco tax going to education instead of healthcare?
The money raised from the tobacco tax is general fund money. We have in our funding program to increase funding for general state services, and that will be a part of that. But if the fact is that the tax on tobacco is general fund money and can be used for multiple purposes.
Follow up on Aaron's question, Senator Sparks said that was part of the problem with the most recent failed funding scheme on the Senate floor, that money did not go to health care, but also the gasoline tax did not go to clothes. Can you speak to his concerns on that?
We're willing to work with anyone in the legislature to pass revenue-raising measures which meet our funding needs. And we have broad-based funding needs. We're the education experts. That's where we're focusing our efforts. But there are other needs that we recognize. The fact is that this is a roadmap, and you can pick at individual pieces of it, but my suggestion to all legislators is just quit it. Just quit it. And get together in a room and figure out how you can raise the revenue necessary to meet Oklahoma's funding needs.
If lawmakers put some or all of these proposals on the ballot to vote of the people, it's so hard to pass at 75%. Would that change anything? Would that be acceptable on any level?
No. Our children cannot wait another year for a ballot measure to go forward and for a vote and all that time. We have to do something now. Our children deserve it, and they are depending on it. Thank you very much.
I want to make one point, if you'll allow me. I happen to have with me an armband that the Oklahoma City AFT held a rally over 15 years ago, and we wore these armbands, and we were dead last in pay. And where are we now? I say dead last. I'm not going to argue over 49 or 50. In our minds, that's dead last. So this problem has been referenced before. It's been going on under Republicans and Democrats. So as David has said, and others have said, it's time to fix the problem. Oklahoma should not be dead last.
Could you just address the walkout in terms of how long it will last, what the plans are for that type of thing? Will teachers all be coming here to Capitol?
There will be back home activities as well as a large contingency up at the Capitol, and it will last until our legislators choose to put children first, the education and the future of our state first, and pass what we've asked, which is a $6,000 raise up front for teachers, $2,500 raise up front for our support professionals, raise for our state employees, and $200 million over 3 years to replace funding costs, operational costs for our schools. That means books, rehire teachers, re-expand curriculum so that the students get the classes and the teachers and support professionals they need to have success. I would like to thank Pam Strange for being our interpreter today, and for all of the folks that came in support, the parents of some of our children, the principals and teachers of some of the students, I shouldn't call them children, of the students that we had speak today, and for the other educators in the room and retired educators in the room that have come to stand with us. Thank you very much for your questions and for being here today.